Bill Gates had 24 hours and so did a beggar. Exactly. So that is something that we need to keep revolving in our mind, that we are not going to get those extra 1 hour at all. Because if you look at it this way, there are going to be exams. And when we move beyond that stage, there will be internships, there will be job, there will be the hustle and bustle of adulting, which I've
Family
started.
life.
So it's only going to get busier. So the time is now. Absolutely, like you said.
Hello and welcome once again to my channel, Say Something with Mads, where I invite youth change makers every week to talk about issues close to their heart, a topic which means to them. It can be a global topic, it can be a personal topic which they want to share with our audience. And today is indeed a special day. Today I have a beautiful 18-year-old from Delhi. She's joining us. She is a real change maker. Through the interview, we will know who she is. Let me welcome her straight away. Welcome, Dwishojoyee, to my channel. I hope you're doing well.
Thank you so much for having me here, Madhum. I'm doing well.
You are joining from Delhi, and I'm from Dubai. How is the weather over there?
Oh, it's pretty cold here, even though rest of India doesn't face it, but it's pretty cold here.
Oh, yes. Dubai, it's quite sunny. Last 1 week was raining. It was unusual, but yes, it's always sunny and bright. So let's dive deep into the interview. And I won't call it an interview, it's a candid talk about knowing who this young change maker is. I pursued her through my LinkedIn sources, and her achievements are so vast that I think one interview will fall short. To introduce her a little bit, because I want her to introduce herself, she is Ashoka Changemaker. I came to know about her from the Ashoka Changemaker 2022 list. She is part of Unleash 2022, which is the biggest social change organization working for youth and sustainability in the world. So, and there are so many more. She works with Save the Children. She is also has her own NGO. So, let's start. Visho, first of all, what does this beautiful name mean, and who has coined this name? Post that, I want you to take us through your journey in your beautifully written introduction, which I don't want to mess with. I want you to speak about that. Yeah.
Well, firstly, thank you so much for the warm welcome, Madhumita, and the introduction that you gave me. I must add to that, I'm just an 18-year-old trying to find her space in the world. As for the name, Dwishojoyee, which you asked me, my father termed this word. So it's basically a Sanskrit word, Dwishojoyee, but since we are Bengalis, we converted it to Dwishojoyee. The pronunciation goes like that. And this word means somebody or someone, like a person who can dispose negativity, who can remove all the negativity from her path. And this is one of the names of goddess Durga, and
Oh,
he named
yes.
me. He
Yes.
coined it.
So, as Bengalis, we know this term. It's in our mantra of Durga's mantra also when
Yeah,
we do this Durga Puja. But yes, coming to your work, Visho, I will call you Visho if that's okay.
yeah, totally. Please call me Vishnu.
So, yeah, let tell us about where this journey of your entrepreneurship or your work started, and where are you now? What are you doing now?
All right. So my journey began when I was still in my fourth or fifth grade, and I accompanied my parents to Kahani Ghar, an organization which works towards the empowerment of slum children through education, cultural infusion, getting them acquainted with people with whom they can network and grow as individuals. So that's where my journey began. And over the years, since my standard fourth till now I've finished my 12th, over the course of these 8 years, I have uh, explored various flavors. That's what I like to call them. I have experienced various genres of change making, be it like gender, be it working with slum children and SDGs, different SDGs. But finally, I found my calling for SDG 13, which is climate action. And that's the layer of cake which I am making right now. But My cake has various stratas and structures. The first layer being working with slum children, Kahani Ghar. Then throughout my school life, I volunteered for various causes, fundraisers, donation drives. And the now layer of me is the soft move, building the soft movement, which is focused towards climate action, particularly plastic pollution. And there have been many toppings to say. I have been awarded, recently, I was awarded by the High Commission of Canada as a young
Oh.
change maker. There has been Ashoka. I have worked with UNICEF. I've worked with Save the Children and various organizations where I got to taste different flavors. I got to explore that, okay, this is something that I could add. This is something that, okay, I like, but I don't want to add. So that exploration on the journey is still going on, and I'm mixing and baking and building this, and I'm
Mm.
quite happy doing that.
Mm. So, this is the age when you can experience and experiment with things and find your core area of work a little later since you started early. So, you have this privilege of doing this a lot of things. So, I would specifically ask you about when I was reading your Shoka Changemaker list, and you had started the soft movement, where you work with one of the project is working with school children to make paper bags. This is something which I want you to elaborate a little bit more. If for those people who are young people who are listening, and in schools, teachers, principals are listening, if they want to do something and they can ask you, they can join you, I will share your link. So please talk about this a little bit.
All right. Firstly, it's great that there are other young change makers who would be listening to us, and I would love to have them on board and work with them together. Because ultimately, it all boils down to the impact that we create, and it's only through other people that we can expand that. So, coming to the paperback project, which is one of the projects for the soft movement, one of the major projects that we focus on, the paperback project wishes to combat plastic pollution at the grassroots levels, especially in India. So I'll give you a bit of a background story behind why we started what we started. So
Mm-hmm.
in India in 2019, there was a nationwide ban on the usage of polythene bags. However, fast forward 2023, small vendors like vegetable sellers or flower sellers or the type of vendors who set up their stalls every day on street, those type of vendors are still using plastic bags. And the sole reason which I could recognize speaking to them was that they know that there's a ban, they know that there are alternatives. However, the alternatives are expensive in comparison to the plastic bags that they are using. And for them, they do not really have a profit margin large enough to incorporate this, like alternatives, which can be paper bags, jute bags, cloth bags, etc. If malls and other industries can, however, these people can't. So, to mitigate between the ban and the grassroots reality, we came up with the paper bag project, wherein we go to schools, conduct workshops about the harms from plastic pollution, especially through polythene bags and how it's affecting the aquatic life and etc. And then we move on to educate the young volunteers on how to create those paper bags from recycled newspaper. And then we distribute it free of cost to these vendors so that we are not only coming up with the awareness part of it, but also providing a ready solution so that they can switch whenever we provide it to them. And so far, starting in January 2022, this project, we have replaced over 20,000 plastic bags across India. And I
Oh,
want to add
wow.
more zeros to that soon.
Okay. So you actually go and give it to the vendors?
Yeah,
Uh, okay.
we go
You
and
take it from
distribute
the
this.
school and they hand it over to them. And what
Yeah.
if they need more? So do they come back, and is the process continuous process of making? Do you have a system in place where packets are made continuously, or schools, you go to each school? How does this work?
So one of the reasons behind naming the soft movement was that I want to include people who want to take action to actually build action and not just be aware about it. So
Okay.
making a paper bag is something that everybody can do, right?
Mm.
So we do not have like a whole function about okay, this is the process. There's a factory or something. There's no system. It's all through volunteers, and
Mm.
that's how we are providing it to the vendors.
So So any small community, any society, everybody can take it up and do it. It's just about, it's actually so simple. You just make 1,000 bags and give it, and just that. Yeah. So that topic which you we actually chose through this is um, activism, and not, you had chosen that, coined that term. What is it that you wanted to talk about? I wanted you to say that line which you coined.
All right. So what I want to do is I want to change the relationship people have with activism. There's not being disrespectful towards anybody, but there's a lot more talk about actions than the real action, right?
Yes.
Especially in climate, there's a lot more talk. So I want to move people from activism to actionism. That's the term that I
Yes.
actually learned from someone. It's not something that I've coined. I learned from someone. She
Follow.
leads Bharat Biotech. I met her during an award ceremony, and she was somebody who really, uh, inspired me. And she told me that, okay, you're not doing activism, you're doing actionism. I'm like, okay, wow, let's learn more on that. And that's how now
Yeah.
this is the term that I use to introduce
Talk
myself or
about you.
also introduce my volunteers.
When
Mhm.
you meet youth around you, do you think there's a lack of motivation, or what are they waiting for? Like, I know there are a lot of change makers, lot of youth are doing, but when I was a teacher, when I was working, people are so bogged down and burdened by the education system, the exams, and the end result is how much percentage you get, that all this actionism takes backseat. How do you balance it, and what would you say to the young change makers, that please go ahead and move? There is no time, like time is now, so do it. So what would you say, how is the balancing act?
There's more activism than the actionism, which is a
Yes.
little harsh. It's a little sad. However, that's the truth which I have experienced. Said about managing time. I don't have a formula. I just have a to-do list every day, and I try to tick everything off.
Mm,
Because if
mm,
you look at it this way, without sounding like a brat, I would say Bill Gates had 24 hours, and so did a beggar. Exactly.
mm,
So that is
mm,
something that we need to keep revolving in our mind, that we are not going to
mm,
get those extra 1 hour at all. Because if you look at it
mm.
this way, there are going to be exams. Then, and when we move beyond that stage, there will be internships, there will be job, there will be the hustle and bustle of adulting, which I've
Family life,
started. Now
everything.
my father
Mm,
is taking me to bank, like, okay, you must learn this and stuff. So
mm,
it's only going to get busier. So the time
mm,
is now. Absolutely,
mm.
like you said.
If you are given a superpower to change one thing in the world, what would that be?
One thing about the world, I would make education accessible to everyone and not literacy. Literacy is still accessible to people, but I
Mm,
want to make education accessible to everyone because India has, over the years, empowered itself enough to provide school systems. But in those
mm.
school systems, people are not getting educated. It is still very marks focused, percentage focused. So change that, because once you change education, everything will change. The poverty part of it, utilization of resources, and that in turn would influence our decisions in regards to climate, in regards to gender, everything. So education is something that I want to contribute to if I can.
And it's a problem which is the world over is the same.
Yeah.
Apart from the developed nations, everybody is struggling with um, educating especially the girl child. How the pandemic has really wiped out so many of young people who have that gap year, so 2 3 years of no education. I think that's the need of the hour. What is your strength? What is the best thing, I mean, strength of Dwishojoyee, and what is one limitation you want to overcome?
One strength which I believe I have is my passion to just go forward, because we'll talk about this more in the interview, obviously. But just to share, starting out changemaker wasn't really something which came in very handy for me,
Hmm.
because people around me were still not very open to the concept. I wasn't introduced to it in any way. However,
Hmm.
I started this journey. one weakness which I want to overcome. Now, this is not on the professional front, this is more on the personal front, is something which, like, I get very anxious and I overthink, and I also sometimes I just have some anger issues. So I
Mm,
think that's
mm.
something that I want to overcome.
Are you a perfectionist? You want to do everything on time? And or yeah,
Of sorts. But sometimes I also like, okay, let this go. It's fine.
because you have worked with so many people and you are in the sector, what would you say the role of parents can be in grooming young change makers?
So, like I shared with you previously as well, that the environment that I was in terms of my education, that very encouraging. So, had it not been for my parents, my mother and father, to introduce me to the world of social activism, I wouldn't be Dwishojoyee. I wouldn't
Mm,
be on this interview today.
absolutely.
I wouldn't have
Yes.
built this off movement. So I think
Mm,
parents are very, very important, and their encouragement and their support, because it's not like the soft move took off in 1 month or 2 months. It was their constant belief that okay, you take your time and you do what you want to do. We are here to support you.
mm,
Even like
mm.
for me to take a gap year, my parents were very supportive. Instead of just
Amazing. Yeah.
yeah, so they
Yeah.
were very
Mm,
supportive. So I think
mm,
parents are very important, and also to drift a bit from this question, maybe
mm,
like you said that interacting with different people, how different is that when your parents really support you? So I've realized that a lot of people, young people in general, have access to quality education, but it's all very theoretical. So once we
yeah.
start exploring stuff on the go, we learn many skill sets, many soft skills, which a paper and a pen would never share with us. Right? It
Mm,
has to be through human interaction. So it comes in
mm.
very important. It comes in very handy in the future as well.
Coming to a question which you might find interesting, you are good at writing, and I've seen how well you write. Her LinkedIn posts, by the way, are worth reading, and I want my speakers to go back to her LinkedIn profile. I will provide that link to read her, like her comment, like and comment over her posts. I follow her too. I wanted to ask you that if Vishojoy has to write a book on herself, what would be the title of the book?
Like in autobiography,
Yes.
I would just call it Dwishojoyee. That's it. Because I
Okay,
don't
because
think
the name,
any other set of words can explain or bracket everything that I want to share. It has to be just Dwishojoyee for now.
oh, somehow the name has so much connotation. Like it's full of meaning, so you can take it the way you want it. Smart answer, that too. You
Mhm.
have to take, you are leading your country. You are given a chance to lead your country. You have only three places in the cabinet whom you have to who will work with you. They can
Mhm.
be anybody from anywhere in the world. Who would those three people be assisting you?
You have such wonderful questions. I think I would really want. So he's my mentor from Ashoka, Yashveer sir. That would be one person I would really like. Second would be my father, given his experience in consultancy and building. He's working
Can
with
you name
Dubai
him?
also.
Name it. Take his name, please.
Yeah,
I
Ronnie
want to.
Banerjee. Ronnie Banerjee. He has a lot of experience in consultancy and and the development sector. So that would be the second person. And the third person that I would like, Shaurya Sinha. He is college. He's currently studying at Stanford, and I would really like his wit and his way of thinking to be a part of the nation building, and I would want him to work with me. Hope that
Okay.
happens in law.
Coming to next question connected to this. Who is your role model and why?
Without sounding like a brat, my role model is me, because
You? Okay. Hmm.
I know my challenges, I know my shortcomings, and
Uh,
the more I observe myself and how I handle certain situations, the more it guides me to become a better person myself. I cannot, because learning from like a person you put on a
Someone.
pedestal, you cannot, because they have a different way of thinking. You cannot just copy and paste that and incorporate it in you. You have to function. Each of us are different. Each of us have different ways of working. So we just need
Hmm.
to evolve. So my role model is me.
Interesting and very different answers I'm getting today. This is an interesting conversation. So far, I've got such beautiful answers. So I'm looking forward to adding more. What if I don't usually do this with my interviews?
It's very
So,
interesting. Let's do it.
uh, yeah, if you everything in the world is taken away from you, and you can take only three things, what would those be? Other than human relations, like you can't choose your parents and family. I'm talking about things. Which three things you will pick up for you?
My phone,
Yes,
obviously, because that's how I connect to everybody in the world.
yes.
Um, I'll take my phone. I'll take a bag which possesses, like, it's a memory bag which has all the stuff that I have from childhood, my favorites,
Okay,
everything.
okay,
It will help
okay.
me be in touch with myself and not lose myself in a new. The
Place. Okay.
third thing that I would take would probably be data connection, because that's
Yeah,
how music comes in, that's how series comes in, that's how books come in, that's how everything comes. So data connection.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, okay, interesting. Vishu, let's now talk about a little bit. I want to know, you meet so many people, you meet so many change makers, and you yourself work with so many NGOs and work regularly. Anyone which is any one incident or anyone place you went, anybody whom you met, which has left a mark on you. You have met so many people. Maybe somebody has narrated something. Any incident which comes to your mind, basically.
Yeah, I have interacted with so many people throughout my life, not just in my profession, even at school and just randomly traveling. I love traveling with people and just randomly, okay, so tell me about yourself. I do that often. And honestly, every conversation has something that I learned from. I'm not trying to be generic here and not take names. I'm not doing that. Honestly, every conversation, like recently I was flying to Bangalore and there was a boy who was preparing for UPSC who was sitting beside me. I don't even remember his name now, but whatever insights he had from his journey left a mark on me. Or
Mm,
when I met Nirmala Sitharaman, she shared just like 4 or 5 minutes with me, wherein she spoke about, that was like it was back in November, where recently the country had gone to the fifth position. India's economy is now at the fifth position. Back in the day, it was 11th position. So I spoke to her a bit. I spoke to her about that a bit for just a few moments, and in fact, speaking to my mother every night leaves something with me which I take with me ahead, like the very next day. So it's everybody and anybody. And even
yeah.
my best friend, they have a lot of insights on me that, okay, you're doing this, but don't do this. You shouldn't speak
Mm.
this or you shouldn't do this. So everybody has an impact on me, honestly.
Coming to my next question about Save the Children, how does this happen, and what is your role in this organization? Save the Children is a big movement, and what is your role and what do you do?
All right. So it also relates a bit to the previous question. Like I was telling you about the conversations and how that's impacting me. So I happened to connect with Pragya Vats ma'am, who is the head of campaigns at Save the Children India, and it was through a Google Meet once, because I was interacting. I was working with one of the Ashoka Young Changemakers from the previous cohort on his project, and that's how I came in touch with Pragya Vats ma'am. Then I interacted with her, and over 6 months, I shared my journey with her. She shared her insights on how I could improve. And I think it was June of 2022 where I was onboarded with Save the Children as a young campaigner with them, and we work on different projects. We incorporated like education for slums. We have worked like I have worked with them for the paperback project as well. We
Mhm.
collaborated once for the paperback project, and they're like the One Earth campaign recently, like 2022's motto was only one earth. We worked on that campaign, wherein we also got in touch with Dia Mirza. We brought her. and everything. So yeah, there are different campaigns
Okay.
that we work at, but
Campaigns.
essentially my role is that of a young campaigner, let's say.
Campaigner. Okay. Whichever campaign they take up, you're part of that, spreading that awareness about the campaigner. Talk about this Unleash project. It's a huge, big thing. Infosys has partnered with Unleash,
Hmm.
which is, I think it's a Denmark-based company,
It is.
if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So, how did this connection happen, and what is that Unleash and Infosys is doing together in India, and how are you connected to that?
All right. So this is the first time, this is the first year where Unleash has come to India. They lead cohorts they lead cohorts in various countries every year. This is the first time it's happening in India. It happened in Mysore this year. And what Unleash does is it brings together a cohort of 1,000 people from the age bracket of 18 to 35 from
Oh, okay.
across nations. So it's through an application process. It's a competition of sorts. So I applied, and I was chosen as one of the youngest of the 1,000 people who were from
Wow,
the
love.
application of 19,000 applicants from various countries. There were like I think 119 countries covered this year, and all of us were brought together in the Infosys campus at Mysore. And like I'll tell you a bit about what happens in the workshops. So we are divided into small cohorts, and each of us are told to prepare our own projects and pitch it. And
Hmm.
there are like it's like an elevator pitch of sorts, wherein we learn how we can bring together like since it's a global pool. There are people from Oxford, there are people from villages, there are people from working at IBM, there are people working in Niti Aayog, and all of these brains come together and bring in different
Wow.
perspectives. So that's how project prospers, right? So through Unleash, I got an opportunity to network with people from Africa, Switzerland, I don't know, so many countries, and it's a beautiful journey.
I'm sure by listening to this, I feel where were we when we were teens? So, Disho, we have had a long and beautiful conversation. Now, I want to know any books you read, any movies, any podcasts you listen to keep yourself motivated, any change maker you follow, anyone who is on YouTube or anything, just that it can also guide and help our listeners.
All right, so I'll name a few change makers who really inspire me. One of them is Wee Kathi Wu. She is one of the SDG leaders with the UN. She's working with the UN right now. So one of them is Wee Kathi Wu. Second, she's from Africa. The other person who really inspires me is Priyaswara Bharti. You can check her out. She's also a Ashoka Young change maker. And yeah, so these are the change makers that I really look up to and want to learn from. Apart from them, like you asked about the books, right? So I'm not a lot into motivational books of sorts or self-help. I'm not into that. I'm really more into fiction, and I really like
Yes.
Arundhati Roy, and her
Okay.
best book, which is very widely known, and it's a cult classic, The God of Small Things, obviously, because reading it, you won't get any like learning कि कुछ ऐसे लिखा है कि ये करो, but there is such in-depth knowledge and insight about human relationships, which is beyond the. It's like it's written in black and white. That book is not written on paper with black ink. It is there are so many things written in the white part of it.
Yeah.
There's so much to read in between the lines. That's one book that I absolutely recommend everybody from every field to read. Um, Podcasts, I switch podcasts very often. Recently, I've been listening to Navya Naveli Nanda's
Yeah.
podcast, and the
Yes.
other podcast that I sort of continuously listen to is from Beer Biceps.
Yeah, that's a favorite. Many teens bring him. This is something which they follow, and he has moved from where he was and what he's doing now. I think he's doing great. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's another person whom I really follow on YouTube, and you must check her channel out. It's called Lana Blakely. She's called Lana Blakely. It's her name, and that's the name of the channel as well. She focuses a lot on manifestations and lifestyle and thinking and
Okay.
everything.
Disha, I would ask you to ask me a question. This is a kind of a role reversal since we are at the end of our talk show. You get to ask me anything you want, and I will honestly answer
Question.
it. Okay,
Can it be two questions?
two. Yeah, yeah.
All right. So I'm really excited for this part, and I really
All right.
want to know about you. So, like you have mentioned, even in our informal conversations and also on this interview, that you have had 30 years of experience in teaching. So, what is, I wouldn't say, because you cannot condense 30 years in a sentence, right? But I would ask you to share your insights on young people and how they think, and how the role of a classroom as a whole influences one individual. Well, how do you see that?
Yeah, yeah. I got your question. And it has, this has again a lot of layers, like your cake which you are building. It can't be one point, but yes, it says that, we say that teacher students are changing over the years. There's respect for the teachers have gone a little less, because the moment you start anything in classroom, people, today's youth, they already know it. They are not looking for information at all. Teach them information from the textbook and they will sleep in your class and they will have no connection. If you want to do something in your class, whether you're taking maths, English, any subject,
Mhm.
bring what is happening around the globe to the class. Bring
Mhm.
what is happening in each country, what the youth of that country is doing, what is happening in science, what is happening in English. Maybe bring a live author, maybe bring somebody online. I mean, you don't be the know all and the on the stage and see. I completely give my students to learn from other speakers. I just am a facilitator. So that way, this then the learning is better and beautiful, and children remember you what you got from other than the book to the class. So that is what is needed, and that needs a special training. I think we are also bound by so many paperwork, so many academics. A teacher has to show this has done a lesson plans. For this reason I left teaching after so many years. This lesson plan business, and the teachers are bound by those things, are not teachers like to do. Just leave them. There are people who will use their creativity to motivate children, but here the pressure is so much that, okay, we know all, we are the administrators, you need to do this, this is the way you have to do it. And this filters to the children, that the
Yeah.
teachers also tell them, this is what I know you need to do. It all filters from top down. So if that can be changed, so that's what I.
All right. You being a Bengali obviously know this song. Jodi to dakshane kyo na ashe.
Okay, let's
So
have two lines.
very bad singer, but I'll try. I'll try my best. যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে. So translating it for the people who don't know Bengali, it says if nobody comes to you when you call them, like अगर तुम्हारी बात को सुन के कोई नहीं आता है, then start moving along. And I think this is something so pure, so simple, yet so empowering. Especially in
Absolutely.
the movie Kahani, Amitabh Bachchan sung it so well.
Yes, yes. I was just going to name it. I'm just going to tell. Oh, amazing. Yeah. That's all for today, Visho. We have had a lot of topics of discussion, and I think we can do one more session on your other passions. This was amazing, and I really am really grateful that you are here today and to inspire the youth always and forever. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for the interview, Madhumita. In fact, without being biased, but being biased, I would say that this is the best interview that I've had, because generally, whenever I'm there for interviews with like media channels or even with people who want to know our journey, it's only focused on soft move, payback project, SDG 13 climate done. This is so interactive, and thank you for doing all that you do with the passion
Thank
that
you.
you do.
Thank you so much. So glad that my subscriber base has increased to 3K. And please subscribe to my channel and leave a comment on such beautiful interviews which we bring week after week. And let's sign off today by saying what I say regularly. at my end of every interview that we have one planet and do a little bit about it from your own home. Start something one step at a time to make it better. Bye, Visho. See you again next time with another guest. Bye bye.
Bye bye, Madhumita.